другий день вебінару про інвазивні чужорідні види. Сьогоднішній порядок денний після вступу буде презентація практичного прикладу Австрії, питання і відповіді теж будуть, тому, будь ласка, підіймайте руку або пишіть в чаті, якщо є питання, і технічна підтримка буде відкривати мікрофон. Далі буде практичний приклад Чехії, теж є час на питання і відповіді. І далі буде практичний приклад Польщі. Від Польщі у нас буде 3 презентації. Перша про національне законодавство щодо інвазивних чужорідних видів, питання та відповіді. Далі у нас буде перерва на каву, і знову буде 2 презентації з Польщі. Перша про аналіз інвазивності чужорідних видів у Польщі, який методологічний підхід був використаний і які результати отримані. І друга презентація про проєкт LIFE в Україні, запланований обсяг заходів, і також проєкт, який почався у 2026 році і буде тягнутися до 2033 року. На завершення вебінару сьогодні у нас буде презентація про інформацію щодо окремих видів, що походять з ЄС. Первісне поширення, шляхи їх інтродукції, біологія, негативні наслідки, можливі заходи управління та приклади з інших європейських країн. Так. І на цьому я передаю слово нашій першій доповідачці Габріелі Обермайер. So, dear Gabriela, I invite you to share your screen.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Olga. I hope it works again, because it worked very well in the test phase. Can you see my screen, the presentation now?
Not yet. Yes, now we see.
Now you see the presentation. Great. So thank you very much for inviting me to talk about how we implement the EU regulation on invasive alien species in Austria. So I would like to start by giving you a very brief idea of biodiversity in Austria and about the framework in which biodiversity is managed, protected, and taken part in Austria. So we are in the middle of Europe, and thanks to the very great variety of landscapes, we are very rich in biodiversity indeed, and we find more than 70,000 species in total in Austria. And this is, as said before, because of the variety of landscapes in Austria. So we have the Alps and the Alpine areas, which cover quite a lot in the western and in the middle part of Austria. Then we have mountain forests, which cover almost half of our territory. Then the lakes and the rivers. We are also very rich in water. And the rest is then cultural landscape, so areas which are formed by human interventions. And what is also very special in Austria are these very dry and salty areas, which are found in the eastern part, close to the border to Hungary. And of course, in the last centuries, also the issue of invasive alien species became more and more important as a threat to our natural biodiversity, but not only for a threat for biodiversity, it was also, of course, an economic factor, because the damage that invasive alien species cause are also costly and have financial impacts. So we started already in the 2000 years to look how many invasive alien species are found in Austria. So we were coming from the CBD, as a Convention on Biological Diversity discussion, where the invasive alien species issue has been very prominent on the agenda already. And we carried out the very first invasive alien species inventory in Austria. That was in 2002. And on the basis of this national inventory, we already in 2005 developed a national action plan on invasive alien species. And in 2025, we again looked how the development and the trends are in invasive alien species and carried out a second invasive alien species inventory. And what is not a surprise is that invasive alien species, the number has increased. Here I bring the example of animal species. So in total, there were found in 2002 46,000 animal species. That includes also the invasive alien species. And in 2025, more than 50,000 animal species. And the alien animal species increased from 500 to 800 species, with among them the established populations also increased from 300 to 500. So there is a very clear upwarding trend on invasive alien species. And only very recently, the University of Vienna has published a new study on developments in invasive alien species in Europe. And what they found out is that there is a clear movement from a species hotspots, global species hotspots, from the subtropical to Europe and also, of course, to Austria. So it is an issue that is becoming more and more severe. So what is the legal framework for the invasive alien species in Austria, and in particular for the implementation of the EU regulation on invasive alien species? It's quite a complex legal framework, I have to say, that is due to the legal competence that is shared between the provincial governments, so our so-called Bundesländer, and the federal level. It is important to note that the provincial governments have the legal competence for nature protection, fishing, hunting, and also special planning, which are very key legal competencies with regards to invasive alien species. On nature protection, we don't have a framework at the federal level, so it's solely a legal competence of our Bundesländer. The federal level, so the ministries are in charge of agriculture policies, forest and environment policies. They are in charge of official and border controls, science and research. This is also the background or the reason why we have nominated 10 national authorities to the European Commission, which are responsible for the implementation of the regulation in Austria. And these are, as said before, our 9 provincial governments. And the 10th national authority is the Austrian Federal Office for Food Safety, das Bundesamt für Ernährungssicherheit in German, which is doing plant protection controls, so phytosanitary controls, and they are also doing the controls, the border controls for invasive alien species that are listed by the European Union. And also, as you might be aware already, that according to the EU regulation on invasive alien species, also a EU committee is set up that has the competence to adopt the list and to discuss issues related to the regulation. And the Austrian representatives in that EU committee on invasive alien species are a representative from the ministry I'm working for. So, sorry, I forgot to say that I'm working for the Austrian Ministry for Agriculture and Forestry, in Climate and Environmental Protection, regional planning, and regions and water management. So it's my person, I'm myself actually. I'm representing, together with a colleague from the Bundesländer, Austria in this EU Committee on Invasive Alien Species. So right at the beginning, when we started to discuss or negotiate the regulation in Brussels, and having in mind the very complex situation in Austria with regards to responsible authorities and the legal competences, we established a national invasive alien species platform, which brought to the table representatives from administration, from universities, from agencies, also from NGOs and from landowners to discuss the Austrian positions on this invasive alien species regulation and also some issues with regard to the implementation. Also to say that from the very beginning, Austria was very supportive to that EU regulation on invasive alien species. So this National Invasive Alien Species Platform is still working and meets about twice a year. Also, the Bundesländer, they themselves established a working group on invasive alien species where they among themselves discuss issues related to the regulation. And we also have a broader general National Biodiversity Commission, which advises our minister on biodiversity in general. And within this commission, of course, we also discuss issues that are related to invasive alien species. So when implementing the invasive alien species regulation, of course, also the regulation has to be applied directly. There is a need to revise some national legislation. And the provinces, so the Bundesländer have revised their legislation on nature protection, on hunting and fishing. But some Bundesländer, some provinces also adopted a specific invasive alien species legislation. So each of the Bundesländer took a different approach according to their regional circumstances and regional policies. So this is a very, how to say, very complex and a very diverse picture of national legislation related to invasive alien species. At the federal level, we revised the plant protection law, which then also got the legal competence to do controls of invasive alien species in the context of the phytosanitary controls. And of course, the federal level is also in charge or responsible for the official controls taking place at the airports and so on. So the Bundesländer are doing most of the implementation actually with regard to the invasive alien species regulations. So they all have established their own websites and doing awareness raising activities. There is hardly any how say common activities among the Bundesländer with regard to that. They also have established early warning systems. For example, the Competence Center for Invasive Plants in Tyrol or local network of voluntary invasive alien species experts in Burgenland. And they also notify to the European Commission, to the European system, they notice any occurrence of invasive alien species in Austria. They also implement the management plans for the listed EU species and issue the permits according to Article 8. You might already be aware that Article 8 allows some using of invasive alien species that are listed for the purpose of ex situ or research for human health. So these permits are also issued by the Bundesländer. At the federal level, we have established a so-called national focal point on the invasive alien species at the Federal Environment Agency. I will talk about that in more detail a little bit later. And we are also founding quite a lot of projects on eradication of invasive alien species with regard to monitoring on certain invasive alien species and also awareness raising. And I also have to say that we have from the federal level a very good cooperation with our Bundesländer, especially when it comes to the national action plans on the pathways, which we have to submit to the European Commission every time when the list of invasive alien species relevant for the European Union are updated. So as we have updated the list last August, and we are now working on the updating or revising the national action plan on the pathways accordingly. We also work together, of course, when it comes to the national reports, which we have to submit, and also when we talk about the national positions on EU policies, for example, when we are discussing listing of new species or adding new species to the EU list of invasive alien species. So I also want to address very briefly some challenges we are facing with regard to the implementation of the regulation. First is that the trade in listed invasive alien species is still an issue. So in many gardening shops, but also in terrarium shops and aquarium shops, you find listed species like the Lepomys gibbosus, or the Zostera japonica, so the Japanese seaweed, or Iconia crassipes. So and this is still an issue, especially when those species are traded online. And we have only very recently we have talked to the Federal Chamber of Commerce, and we started to cooperate on this issue and to find out which are really the most important species that are still traded and how to address this effectively. There is also, of course, on some listed species, there is an economic interest. For example, the Sika deer that has been listed last August, so when the fourth update of the list was adopted. And this is an issue in Austria because we have quite a number of Sika deer farmers. And we are discussing currently how to address this. And of course, also what to do with those species that are confiscated and handed over by private people, and to where to put those species. This is always a case by case an issue that has to be addressed. So now I would like to talk a little bit on our national focal point on the invasive alien species that we have established already in 2005. And this national focal point is now doing a lot of work with regards to the EU regulation on invasive alien species. And this focal point is more or less in the person of Dr. Wolfgang Rabic. Maybe some of you might know him. He is really the person to ask in Austria when it comes to invasive alien species. He represents Austria in the EU Scientific Forum. This is the forum which looks at the risk assessments which are submitted to the Commission, and the forum checks whether these risk assessments are fit for purpose and are the basis for the Commission to decide whether they put forward an invasive alien species to the EU committee for listing. He is also providing expertise not only to the Bundesländer, but in particular also to our ministry on all the aspects that are related to invasive alien species. He is in charge also of these inventory activities on invasive alien species. Wolfgang Rabic prepares the National Action Plan on the pathways and also the national reports. He's also doing a lot of information and awareness raising. And as a central part of that work is the website Neobiota Austria. And I now try to open the link, and I hope it works. Can you see the website now?
Yes, it works.
Oh, great. Yes, great. So this is our federal website on invasive alien species. And here you find all the news with regard to invasive alien species, but also all the information I'm sorry that it's only in German, and also all the information on the EU regulation on invasive alien species. You find the action plan on invasive alien species there. Here you find also the fact sheets on the listed species. Here, all the species that are found in Austria are highlighted in bold letters. And when you look at these species, you find all the information, where they occur in Austria, how you recognize those species, whether they are established, have established populations, and yeah, and all the information on these species. So now I close this, and I hope I'm back again in my presentation.
Yes,
Am I?
you are back.
Yes, great. Wow, I'm so happy that it's worked out so well. So Wolfgang Rabic is also the person to ask all the questions when people have, so the civil society, citizens, and others have questions, so they approach our national focal points. We also have established on iNaturalist a project on Austrian invasive alien species. So here people can report on invasive alien species, and the national focal point, so Wolfgang Rabic, is also verifying. Okay, this doesn't work, this link, unfortunately, because I wanted to show you this project within iNaturalist on invasive alien species. Unfortunately, this link doesn't work. So Wolfgang Rabic is also looking whether these reported species are all the real species, and is doing some verification on that. Also, every 4 to 5 years, we are organizing big national conferences on invasive alien species, and Wolfgang is also organizing these conferences. Only in November last year, we had a big conference where we had all this information and presentations on new developments on invasive alien species in the EU, but also in Austria. So finally, also to talk a little bit about how many species that are listed on the EU list are to be found in Austria. You will be aware that in total 114 plant and animal species are on the EU list, and out of that, 40 species are found in Austria. So among them are species that only have single occurrence, but also species that are widely spread in Austria, like Impatiens glandulifera or Ailanthus altissima, which are really among those species that are most widely spread in Austria, but also Myocastus scoepus or Preconlottor and many others. So this now brings me to the end of the presentation. I want to thank you very much, and I hope that I will be able to answer the questions you have. And if you have a question after this meeting, please don't hesitate to just drop me an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gabriela. Actually, your presentation really gives a good overview how Austria approaches the invasive alien species. And actually, it brings me also to some questions which were posted yesterday in the chat and we could not discuss. For example, you mentioned this economic interest in listed species and how to approach if some species are used in the economies. And specifically, the question was on, for example, in Ukraine in 1960, silver carp and grass carp were intensively introduced into newly constructed reservoirs to combat excessive vegetation and secondarily for their subsequent commercial harvest. And today, these species form the basis of fishing industry and accordingly constitute an economic component and the pillar of the country's food security, ensuring the population supplied. So interesting whether you can hint in which direction Austria develops the approaches, like with deers, for example.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. That is a very accurate question, as we are discussing this in Austria in the context of Sika deer quite intensively currently. As you might be aware, that the EU regulation includes Article 9 that says that in exceptional cases and for reasons of compelling public interest, including those of social and economic interest, the member states can issue a permit but of course that permit is subject to an authorization by the EU Commission. And we found out that the Commission actually is quite restrictive in issuing such authorizations. Up to now, I think it's only 2 such authorizations have been issued by the Commission, and also the criteria for getting such an authorization are quite many. And of course, this also requires quite a lot of investment by the farmers or by the holders of those species. But there is also, of course, in general, the possibility to change to other species. But many of our sika deer farmers actually don't want to change or hold different species in their farms, but want to keep to the sika deer. So then it's the only possibility to go through this Article 9 authorization. And yeah, let's see. So this is how we handle that currently. But the sika deer is actually the only species we are really discussing in Austria. So with other species that have economic interest, they have and they are listed. I don't have that, or I haven't got that signal from the businesses that there is a big issue. What is an issue is, of course, there's still trade in listed issues, in listed species, as said before. And now we started to address this in a cooperation with the Chamber of Commerce and with other organizations, in order to first of all to identify those species that are most commonly traded, and in order then to also find some measures how to address these species and these issues.
Thank you, Gabriela. Actually, in the chat, the question, but more comprehensive, was posted by Alexander Tomchenko. You can read it. The same question that you answered, actually, that the EU have experience in dealing.
Yeah. So what we found out is that there is not much experience with regard to Article 9 or the execution of Article 9. And also that in the regulation it says it is the authorization is issued in an exceptional case. So that says it already all. And also the criteria for getting that authorization are quite many. And I have to say that these require also, as I said before, investments by the companies and by the businesses. So to carefully look at it and really weigh out cost and benefit.
Thank you. And there is another question, whether there are projects which have successful results and which are related to extraction of this invasive industrial types of fish specifically.
Oh, no, so far not. So fish is really very challenging. Fish are very challenging, I have to say. And I'm not aware actually of projects with successful eradication, but I will try to get information and send it to you, Olga, so also to share it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Can, for example, potatoes, tomatoes, corn, and other plants be examples of managing of other invasive alien species?
I'm not sure whether I got the question really.
Can I answer that question?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like almost a joke and so on. So
Okay.
Колеги, картопля, томати і кукурудза – це сільськогосподарські культури, які ростуть виключно на полях. Тобто їх потрібно посадити для того, щоб вони виросли. Землю потрібно переорати і посадити. А інвазійними чужорідними видами вважаються лише ті, які самі йдуть в природу і самі живуть в природних екосистемах, витісняючи наші місцеві види. Тому ані картопля, ані томати, ані кукурудза не можуть бути прикладом стосовно інвазійних видів, хоч вони і мають чужорідне походження. Толстолоб, як ми вчора почули, вже розмножується в Україні на Дунаї, і, зважаючи на це, можна його розглядати як інвазійний, особливо якщо є докази того, що його присутність в цих водоймах сприяла чи спричинила зменшення чисельності популяції місцевих видів. Дякую.
Okay. Any further questions?
Okay, maybe I can also add something to that. Well, it's a matter of fact, and because of climate change, we get more and more alien species in Austria. But of course, not all the species do harm to our natural biodiversity. That's also a matter of fact. And when it comes to the EU regulation on invasive alien species, this regulation is dealing with those species that are introduced by human beings on purpose. So it's not addressing those species that occur because of climate change. It's not addressing species that are of phytosanitary concerns, so pest species, etc. So these are not included in the EU regulation. Also to make this very clear that there is a difference between those species that occur by themselves and those species that come because human beings bring them to the new environment and to the country.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah, there are other two questions. One is, what is the situation with using of forest trees, red oak, for example?
Well, we actually have quite some discussions in Austria, and quite a lot of projects are going on in the Federal Agency of Forests and Forest Research in Austria. So because of climate change, there is a change of course in the composition of tree species in our forests. And there is a lot of discussions on that. That's all I can say on that currently, yeah.
And another question, are there amphibians and reptiles which are considered invasive species in Austria?
In general, or when it comes to in general? Well, there are some, but I think my colleague Wolfgang Rabic could answer that question much more competently.
Yeah, we didn't manage to get Wolfgang, unfortunately, to this webinar, but maybe for some follow-up.
Because he knows really all the species that occur. Yeah. But of course, if you're interested, I can send you the results of the second inventory that was published in 2025. So where you find all the species that are found in Austria.
Yeah,
and the inventory includes those species that have established populations already. So, and also those species that have only occurred once or twice. So.
Okay, thank you. I think we will continue with the next speaker. Many thanks, Gabriela, for your time, for preparation of the presentation, and for answering the questions also. And now we will switch then to the next presenter, Tomáš Görner from the Czech Nature Conservation Agency.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you well.
Yeah. Okay, so I will try to share my presentation. Can you see the presentation or not?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. I will try it again. Yeah, presentation, sharing. And now?
It's appearing. Yep. Good.
It's okay?
Yep.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Tomáš Gerner, and I work at the Nature Conservation Agency of the Czech Republic in Department of Species Protection. Let me share with you the issue of invasive alien species in the Czech Republic from a legal perspective. Firstly, let me introduce what our organization does in the field of nature conservation. And some of these activities, of course, involve invasive alien species. So it's important to say it at the beginning. Our agency directly manages protected landscape areas. These are large-scaled areas. You can see it in the map on the right. It's not national parks. National parks are independent areas which have their own administration. So we manage only these protected landscape areas and a few hundreds of small-scaled protected areas like National Nature Reserve and National Nature Monuments. Our agency also monitors status and changes of selected habitats, types, population of endangered species, protected species, but also invasive alien species. Our agency develops and manages Nature Conservancy information system, including species occurrence database. You can see in the left there is a map, and it's a result of finding of some species from the species occurrence database. Of course, it is possible to zoom it to the specific location for a specific findings. And this species occurrence database includes maybe 15, 17 millions of findings of all species in the Czech Republic. And many of them are invasive species. We are also involved in awareness raising, communication and education in nature conservation. In case of invasive alien species, we manage a web page. You can see screenshot in the left bottom picture. And here in this web page, you can find information about legislation, methodology, projects, some fact sheets of species, and other useful information about invasive species. Then I would like to mention the ongoing project to monitor invasive alien species in the Czech Republic. It is funded by the operational program Environment. It's a EU fund, and this project will run until 2029. The goal of the project is to map the entire territory of the Czech Republic, excluding national parks and military areas and capital city Prague. The area of our country is divided into 5 kilometers grid, some mapping squares, and each grid there are several types of habitats which we should map and monitor. We have some list of selected invasive alien species, and they are monitored by the methodology. We have internal methodology for mapping these species. And protected landscape areas, we are mapping in detail, and also some small-scaled small-scale areas like nature reserve, we also monitor in detail. Our agency also produced some methodical material. For example, standards. We have several standards for several types of activities in nature protection, like cutting trees and grazing, and also for management alien plant species. And these standards are useful, for example, if you apply for financial support from some project, you have to follow the standards. These are recommendations and technical descriptions of some activities, for example, some eradication activities, how to inject island tools, for example, and so on. We are also creating standard for management animal species, invasive animal species, but it is still in process. So we hope that this year will be the first year when we finish it. We also creating some methodical sheets, but these are only internal documents for our employees. So this is methodology, and now it's time for some overview of Czech legislation focusing on invasive alien species. The most important act in this topic is Act number 114. It's Act on Nature and Landscape Protection, and it contains the EU regulation 1143 and also regulation number 708. And in this act, we have three groups of non-native or alien species. The first group, these are all non-native species in the Czech Republic, and before the implementing of EU regulations, all non-native species, including invasive species, were included in this group. But in 2022, EU regulations were implemented into our legislation, so we have to create other two groups. The second group are alien and locally absent species in aquaculture, and it's on basis of EU regulation number 708. And Czech Republic also implemented EU regulation number 1143. So species from Union list, so invasive alien species of Union concern, form the third group. And now I will take a closer look at each group. So the first one is non-native species. These are addressed in Section 5 of the Act on Nature and Landscape Protection. And this section says that deliberate spreading of alien plant or animal species into the landscape is only possible with a permit. So you have to have a permission if you want to plant something, or if you want to have some farm with some animals which are non-native. It says here also that there is a ban on deliberate spreading in protected landscape areas, national parks, and other, for example, nature reserve and so on. If it's necessary for nature conservation in a specific location, Nature Conservation Authority may establish measures to regulate non-native species. And this document specifies how and when the species will be regulated. Priority areas could be determined, and landowners or land users are responsible for managing the species. If they do nothing or fail to do so, they must accept intervention by the Nature Conservation Authority. theoretically it's possible to issue a fine for the spread of non-native species, but no such fine has been issued yet. And nature conservation authorities in this topic are municipalities, so towns or small cities. National park administrations at the area of national parks, and our agency in protected landscape areas. Some measures have been released yet, for example, against Lupinus polyphyllus in Šumava National Park, or against Robinia pseudoacacia in National Nature Monument Mladá. It's an area near Milovice town. So it's these measures are at the beginning, and we hope that it will be more and more these measures against other species. The second group I will go through very quickly because it's a minor issue for us. We haven't dealt with any cases yet, so it doesn't include common species in ponds. The restrictions also do not apply to, for example, pet stores, garden centers, or if you have some garden pond small, it's excluded from this group. You don't need a permission for a few non-native species, fish species in your garden pond. It's not in it. It's also some list of exceptions. You can see here the list of species which are excluded from these permissions, and you can see here common species in, for example, ponds like carp, and grass carp, and so on. So these are excluded from this group. Competent nature conservation authority in this is our agency, and if somebody want to have some exotic fish in their pond, they have to have some permit. So permission is required. And the last group of non-native species in the Act are invasive species from the Union list. And according to EU regulation, these species shall not be intentionally transported, kept, bred, reproduced, released into the environment. So if you have the species, you can do nothing with this species. As were mentioned in a previous presentation, on Union list, after the last update in August 2025, these are 114 species in Union list, and 23 of them are common or relatively common in the Czech Republic. You can see this species with common species from the Union list, these on these pictures. And for common species, we create some documents on national scale. They are called in Czech zásady regulace. We can translate it into English like national management measures, maybe, but it's only my translation. It's not official term in English. And these documents describe the species, so for example, biology, ecology, and methods of eradication of these species, how to regulate the species. You can find here, for example, actual distribution, methods of eradication, and prioritization of the area if it's possible to focus management on some localities. And these documents are created by the Ministry of the Environment. Currently, 4 national management measures are available. You can see the pictures. For giant hogweed, it's Asclepias, it's common milkweed. Impatiens glandulifera and tree of heaven, Ailanthus. So we have 4 documents for 4 species today, but we are preparing other ones for all 23 species. And if these national documents are issued, it's time for regulation management measures. In Czech, it's opatření obecné povahy, and these are released by regional offices or administrations of national parks. And these documents already directly and specifically instruct landowners or land users how to handle these species. If they do nothing, they must accept intervention by the Nature Conservation Authority. And theoretically, like in Group 1, it's possible to issue a fine for the spread of invasive species, but no such fine has been issued yet. Maybe in the future. These were common species from Union list, and we also solve problems with new invasive species in our country because early detection and rapid response is the easiest and cheapest way how to eliminate invasive species. Our agency has on its web page something like surveillance system. We collect and record data. So it is above mentioned species occurring database, and we inform public how to cooperate with us. We show them how to report data, how to recognize species, and how to help us, because we need public, we need collect data because it's necessary in case of first findings of some species. And if the finding of new species is confirmed, we ensure removal or isolation, because in some cases it is not possible to eradicate the population. It's only we only try to isolate the population and prevent other spreading. Of course, we make it in cooperation with landowners and other competent institutions. We also inform EU through EU notification system. It's EASIN system. It's very useful for us. For example, we can find their first findings of invasive alien species from other countries much before it is published, for example, in some scientific articles. So it's the notification system is very useful for us, and we also fill it by our data. And now I prepared some few examples of current cases of first occurrences of invasive alien species from Union list. The first one is marbled crayfish. The species firstly was found in small pond or something between pond and pool in Prague in 2016. It was easy to eradicate it because we only drained the pond and we let it without water during the winter. We monitored this locality in the following years, but we didn't find any crayfish here. But unfortunately, from this time we have another localities with this favorite aquarium pet species. One of this locality is Radovesice spoil heap. It's an area after coal mining near Bílina in northern Bohemia. It is some water body which we cannot drain, and the crayfish is still here. The locality is isolated, so we only release into the pond some carnivore fish, like I think ales, and we still monitor the locality. We use traps, and each year we find there one or two, maximally three individuals of marbled crayfish. So not much, not many crayfish, but it is still here. Then we had one locality in Prague in a small pond, and during 2 years we drained the pond, we catched the animals, we use traps, we use lime on the bottom of the pond. We released carnivore fish, and after 2 years, it seems that marbled crayfish was eradicated from this locality. But in 2025, last year, we found 2 other localities in Morava, and we applied for a project from IUCN. It's a project on rapid eradication of new occurrences of invasive species. We were successful, and in these days we are starting eradication activities on these localities. For example, near Mohelnice, we want to cover the water body with soil. We want to build a barrier along the water body, and we want to, by traps, release carnivore fish and other activities. We have 1 year, so the project is only for 1 year, and we want to reduce the population in these localities. Other species is Amur sleeper. It's in Latin Percotus gleni. It was recorded in January 2023 during pond harvesting, and several specimens, I don't know, 5, 6 specimens were observed. We monitored other ponds in the surroundings and also stream below the pond. And 2 individuals were found in the second pond, the nearest pond from this. And no individuals were catched in the stream, so it's positive. In 2024, only 1 fish was catched during pond harvesting, and no other fish in the last 2 years. So it seems that Amur sleeper was present as a contaminant with fish stock, maybe, and fishermen now began to be more careful. Of course, we still monitor the locality, so we are planning detailed monitoring of ponds and stream in June this year. Other case is, my mistake, not Western waterweed, but it's Myriophyllum aquaticum. It's parrot's feather. So sorry, wrong name, but photos are right. It was found in a flooded quarry. It's a natural monument near Kolín in central Bohemia, and we are trying to eliminate this species by means of other non-native species. So we released grass carps in the locality, and now we monitor how to grass carps feed the Myriophyllum, and we we will see if fish can reduce the population of Myriophyllum. Next one is Asian hornet, so Vespa velutina. The first finding was in 2023 when we found one specimen. Then we visit the locality, find more specimens. Then we found the nest and eradicated with together with firefighters. In 2024, we found another ones near Ostrava, and in the last year we had no observation of Asian hornet. And in this place, I would like to note that there is very important to cooperate with public, and citizen science is very necessary if you want to monitor, for example, this species. It works great. Citizen science works very great on Asian hornets because people are afraid of it. And we have, for example, 1,000 records. These are not Asian hornets, but similar species. But people are afraid, and they use email. You can see the email address, and also we have a mobile app for monitoring Asian hornets. In Czech is Nahlas Tršeň, so it's also popular among people. And maybe finally, a few words to possibility of registration of pet animal from Union list. For example, if some species is added to Union list, people don't have to kill it or put it away, but it's possible to register it. So we have some web formula for registration, and people, if you register the animal, you can keep it until the end of its life. You have to prevent breeding and reproducing, and you have to prevent escaping to the environment. Maybe 1,600 of owners registered their animals, and most popular or most common pet in registration are turtles, so red-eyed sliders, and then some other animals like raccoons or king snakes and so on. So it's possible to register the animal. Nowadays we are we are waiting for registering cicadeers because it's a new species in the Union list, and I think that Czech Republic has the biggest population of cicadeer, not only in nature but in some farms and so on. So we will see. So it was an overview of the issue of invasive alien species in the Czech Republic, and I thank you for your attention. And if you have some questions, you can use also this email or our websites. These are also contacts for us.
Thank you, Tomasz, for your presentation. We have actually one question in the chat. Who provides permits for eradication of invasive species in the national parks?
National parks are independent, so national parks, all activities which is deal with invasive species are doing by national park administrations.
But permits for eradication, permits for eradication of the species in the national parks?
Permits for eradications. Yeah. if it's from union list, the national parks also released measures, and in measures you have some activities. For example, if you want to use herbicides, the measure says that you can use it because it's for eradication of the specific species. So permits also give the national park administrations, but in general, by means of the measure which are released for the species.
Mhm. And then another question, the same, the question that was also for Austria. Does the EU have experience dealing with non-native species that have historically become the foundation of the economy?
In case of Austria, cicadee was mentioned, and I mentioned, for example, koipu, nutria, because it's very popular among people because it's like a rabbit. You have it in a boxes in gardens, and nowadays it's on union list. So there are some exceptions. And Minister of the Environment can give you a permit for having some nutrias, but it's all only for reason scientific, or if you have, for example, some subspecies, maybe for protection of genophond of nutria. If you have some, for example, we have some white nutrias, and they are protecting because it's a genophond of white nutrias. So several owners of these white nutrias have exceptions for having them, and we also have some registration of nutrias, but it's only until the end of this life. And I think many people have nutrias, but it's not legal. But it's not legal.
And then another question. You said that the eradication of invasive plants in the pods, in the pools, and you use the fish. So I don't know the English. Armur. Олеся, може ви допоможете?
Grass carp.
Yeah. So so this grass carp is not an invasive species in Czech, right?
We have to distinguish between invasive and non-native. So grass carp is in group 1. When I showed the Act on Nature Conservation and Landscape Protection, so group 1 are all non-native species, and in this group is grass carp. So when before we release the grass carp, we have to have the permission from regional authority to release the grass carp. So it's not native, and we have to have permission to release them to the pond.
Okay, another question as a follow-up to the national park. National parks have the authorities to make the control beyond the boundaries of the national parks, right? Or it's not correct, or only limited to the national park area?
It's in national parks, and national parks have some small areas along the borders, and in these areas is also possible to national park administrations can make activities in these areas, but it's some buffers around the borders of national parks.
And then there are 2 more questions in the chat. First one, how are the provisions of regulation of European Commission 1143-2014 and Council Regulation 708-2007 on the use of alien and locally absent species in aquaculture aligned in your national legislation? Provide more details. Also, would it be possible to obtain contact details for further consultation? Well, the contact details are in the presentation. So, but the question is how the provision on use of alien and locally absent species in aquaculture aligned in your national legislation?
Unfortunately, we have no experience because we didn't solve any case of some exotic fish. If someone want to have the fish in this pond, so we have no experience about this, not yet.
What approaches are used in the Czech Republic to prevent the invasions of non-native forest trees?
Forest trees, for example, red oak. We have also Pinus strobus, for example. These trees are regulated. You have to have permission for planting it, and it is banned to. It is forbidden to plant it in protected areas and around them. But it's possible. If you have permission, you can use these trees in forests, but only with permission.
Thank you. Alessia, you wanted to add something?
Yes, thank you very much, Tomasz. I'd like to comment and clarify a little bit what you answered, and I will do it in Ukraine regarding the question about regulations 1143 and 708. Томаш показував на своєму слайді, що їхній закон про захист природи і ландшафтів охоплює питання, якщо я правильно пам'ятаю, Томаш, поправте мене, охоплює питання і одного, і іншого регламенту. Тобто це все покривається одним великим законом, і у них є трьохрівневий список, в якому в першій групі всі чужорідні види, не інвазійні чужорідні, а чужорідні види, в другому списку і третьому види, які відносяться до інвазійних видів, і в другому, мені здається, були види, які регулюються цим регламентом 708, а в третьому види, які інвазійні чужорідні в ЄС. В 708 регламенті не всі про це знають. Що це за регламент? Це регламент, який регулює використання чужорідних і місцево відсутніх видів в аквакультурі. Це стосується риби, там, креветок, крабів, якщо я правильно розумію, але я в цьому, молюсків, того, що використовується в аквакультурі. І там є додаток з видами, які можна використовувати в аквакультурі і які не відносяться до інвазійних чужорідних, тому що вони фактично не відтворюються в дикій природі або там, я не знаю, становлять таку вже важливу цінність для харчової безпеки, продовольчої безпеки. Чи правильно я зрозуміла, Томаш? Я не знаю, як переклад працює.
I didn't catch it in English, sorry.
Окей. So
I have no-
in any way, you will provide your details and can you answer for the question, because it's now like huge question what to do with so many species of fish and other things in aquaculture and also in forestry that was intentionally introduced into Ukraine for some purposes, but now we are realizing that they're invasive and what to do with that species. Like it's huge discussion in Ukraine about that. So, and it would be good if you will provide more clear explanation to them. Right, yeah, thank you. І щодо національних парків, ще раз можна, я дуже перепрошую, дозволи на видалення інвазійних чужорідних видів не потрібно отримувати. Є законодавча вимога щодо видалення інвазійних видів, щодо їх знищення, що тварини, що рослини, все це видаляється, особливо в національних парках. І національні парки, з того, що я бачила в Чехії, ще в поїздці, я, по-моєму, 10 років тому там була, вони видаляють інвазійні чужорідні види, які не включені в жодний офіційний список. Наприклад, рабінія псевдоакація, акація біла – це інвазійний чужорідний вид. Він не включений в офіційний список, але в національному парку він шкодить природній екосистемі. І національний парк працює системно з видаленням. У тому, що навіть фотографія була стосовно цього. Ці дерева не просто вирубаються, а ще й ін'єкції агрохімікатів якісь туди вводяться для того, щоб поросль не пішла і дерева не відновлювались. От, наскільки я розумію, це працює саме так. Дякую.
Дякую, пані Олеся, за доповнення. Tomasz, thank you for your presentation. I think in the matter of time, in the interest of time, we will move to the next presenter, next speaker. We have from Poland, Eva Pesarczyk from the General Directorate for Environment Protection. And I invite Eva to share your presentation.
Yes, thank you. Hello, it's just I will try to show you the presentation. Mm-hmm. Do you see now?
Yes, we see,
Yes.
but not in the full screen. Yes, now in full screen mode. Perfect.
Just I will go back for a moment. Yes. Okay, now it should be okay. Yes?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Okay, so I would like to welcome you very warmly from Poland. I work for, my name is Eva Pesarczyk. I work for the General Directorate for Environmental Protection in Poland, which is an agency of the Ministry of Environment and Climate. And I deal with invasive alien species in my department. So I will present you our national legislation on this topic. So you see here IGO, it means inwazyjne gatunki obce. So this is in Polish the name of this species. So probably most of you know that we have a very wide group of species which are called alien species, which has also their definition in the EU regulation. And some of them, like maybe 5 to 10%, are the invasive alien species, so that they threaten the biodiversity and sometimes also for the human health or maybe for the economy. So in this group of this invasive alien species, we have, from the legal point of view, some species that are subject to some prohibitions, some restrictions. So according to this EU legislations, these are the areas of union concern, so for the whole union, and each country can establish their areas, the list of areas of national concern. So in our case, it is the list of areas of Polish concern. The main legislation for Poland, it's the Act on Alien Species from 2021. So it covers maybe like 95% invasive alien species, but some provisions, some regulations are also for all alien species. So in this legislation, we have detailed the EU regulation. So, for example, we have described which authorities are responsible in Poland for issuing some permits or to undertake the management measures and so on. And we have also set in this legislation the provisions for areas of the Polish concern, areas from the Polish list. And we mainly have taken just the same provisions as for the provisions for the areas from the EU list. To make it simpler, so they are mainly just the same, like bans and issues on management, just like for the EU species. And second most important legislation in Poland for this topic, it is the regulation of the Council of Ministers, so not only for the Ministry of Environment, on the list of areas of the Union concern and the list of areas of Polish concern, on the management measures and measures aimed at restoring the natural state of ecosystems. So in this regulation, we have a list of the areas of Polish concern. Currently, there are 15. There were in the beginning there were more, but as the EU list was amended, some of them they were put on the EU list, like the cicadere or the Reinutria. So our list is smaller and smaller, but we may revise it in the future. So a second important thing in this regulation is that we have divided the species into those subject to rapid elimination and those that we recognize that they are widely spread. And it goes both for the EU list and for the Polish list. So we know for which species we should be more cautious. And there are different provisions in the Act on Alien Species for these two different groups. And there are some general provisions in these regulations on possible management measures. For example, we didn't allow the biological measures at this point. So like introducing new alien species in order to combat the invasive alien species. We have, for example, also said there that for some species that the seeds are prone to germinate, so they should be buried under the ground. So there are some specific rules on the management measures, but rather general. More specific, detailed information how to manage the invasive alien species we have in guidance documents, which don't have a legal status. So here you can see the areas of union concern that are present or that used to be present recently in Poland. On the left, subject to the rapid eradication, and the most cases we have for the Egyptian goose. and even more for the koipu. So these are subject to the rapid eradication. We notify them to the Commission. Yes, from the plants, there were just single occurrences. And on the right, you can see the species that are widely spread in Poland from the EU list. From the plants, the most cases are about the Reinutria, and then on the Heracleum, the Sosnowski hogweed. And from the animals, we have many raccoon dogs and raccoons, and that mostly they are subject to management measures. From the Polish list, you can see on the left 9 species that are subject to rapid eradication. For example, we have the bison, so the American bison, which there are maybe 3 places where it is farmed, but it's very for us dangerous species because it can mix with the European bison in the wild. So we have put it in this rapid eradication list in case it escapes, and to make it more difficult to get the permit for the farming. And yes, and on the right you can see the species from the Polish list that are widely spread. Maybe the most well-known is the wild cucumber, Echinocystis lobata, the plant that you can see below. It's very common near the rivers. So I will present you some of the details from the Act on Alien Species. So we have one prohibition for all alien species, which is the introduction and moving in the environment. And we have put some general exceptions, like for agriculture, the plants in agriculture or in urban areas, or for the hunting animals, but just for just 2 of them, they can be released, and only with a permit. For example, the pheasant. Yes, as I said before, the prohibitions and all the provisions are very similar to the EU legislation. We have said our agency gives the permits, and also our regional agencies for the IAS. We have set what should be the content of the application, what is the procedure. In our legislation, there are some more strict provisions than in the EU legislation, which is possible to have this. And as you have heard, in the Czech Republic, you should register the pets, and we have maybe similar, but for us in this 1-year transition period, you should get a permit for the pets. And also, if you wish to purchase, to buy some animal or plant from the commercial stock, which is possible also during the 1-year transition period. Also, you should have a permit, but for the management measures, but only for keeping, for example, animal in some special object, or usage of it. If you, for example, you have some public audience in these objects. So also for the commercial use of IAS widely spread is possible under the EU legislation. It is the Article 19. But we require a permit for this in order to have control under this. There is also for every citizen an obligation to report the IAS occurrences in the environment. So both for private and public or commercial entities, they should send an information to a local municipality that they have observed IAS. And also they should send information on management measures for IAS that they have undertaken. We have established a surveillance system accordingly to the EU legislation. We call it a Central Register for IAS data. We store their information on IAS occurrences in the environment, also on management measures and on the permits that we have issued. The basic data on the occurrences is publicly visible in GeoPortal. We call it GeoService. And the public authorities that enter the data from the local municipalities are our regional directorates for environmental protection, also the national parks in their territory, the Marine Office for the coast, and the Chief Marine Inspectorate for the sea. And for example, just last year, there were almost 6,000 IAS occurrences that they were entered to this database. And among them, there were 55 occurrences on IAS subject to rapid elimination that we have then also registered to this EU notification system. Here is how nowadays our GeoPortal looks like. And on the right, you can choose the invasive species that you are interested in and see where it is still present. But this goes only for the occurrences that were sent to us through the local municipality. So it's not like from all data that could be found in science, or just the ones that they were sent to us for the exact location. And moreover, in this Act on Alien Species, you can find the responsible persons or actors that to undertake the management measures for IAS. So for the widely spread invasive species, these are mainly the managers of the property, so also private people. But if they wish, the private people or private companies, they can ask the municipality to take over this responsibility. If the private owners they don't act, the municipality they can remove the IAS on the expense of the manager, of the property owner. And for the IAS that are subject to rapid eradication, they are removed only by the public authorities, and these are the same as before. So these are the Regional Directorate for Environmental Protection, the National Park, the Marine Office, and the Chief Marine Inspector. So if there is, for example, this koi pool, or if there would be gray squirrel in the environment, then only this public authorities take the action. There were also some changes in other legislation. For example, in the legislation on hunting. So invasive alien species are possible to hunt by the hunters. And in this 6-year period that we have recently reported to the Commission, almost 100,000 raccoon dogs were shot and 20,000 raccoon. Under this legislation, we can create animal asylums that they can keep invasive alien species, protected species, dangerous species, and sighted species that they were taken from environment or from the border control, from illegal import. And currently we have 20 small asylums in Poland, and a big central animal asylum is in a planning phase. There is also the polluter pays principle, but we haven't yet we haven't had yet a case like this, that in case someone releases IAS into environment, then he should pay for the management measures. And of course, we have set who is responsible for the official controls on the borders and on the imports. Yes, and there are fines when reaching the bans, like criminal fines, but also the regional director for environmental protection can put an administrative fine up to 200,000 euro. Currently, we have just one case like this underway, but of course, this is just the maximum. It can be, of course, lower. It depends on the case. Here it is like the how it looks like the European notification system. So we should notify about occurrences and about the management measures for the IAS subject to rapid eradication from the EU list. We have also a regulation on the requirements for marking and photographic documentation of individual characteristics of animals belonging to IAS. It is because of the EU regulation that the animals should be marked if kept. And we have a resolution of the Council of Ministers on the action plan on priority pathways. We have 2 priority pathways that are the main pathways for our IAS. It is the escape from gardens and parks, etc., and escapes of pets and aquarium and terrarium species, both plants and animals. And this action plans has tasks, but just for the public authorities, because it's the low rank of this legislation. It is applicable just for the ministers and their administration. In this action plan, we have 4 main topics: raising awareness, collection of information, prevention of new introduction, and development of international cooperation. There are 17 different tasks that should be fulfilled until 2030, and we have some of them we have already fulfilled under one EU-funded project. There were 2 movies on the public TV shown. They are also available on YouTube. There will be articles, contacts, workshops. They were already done, and there will be also some campaign. And these activities are under EU-funded projects. There are also some activities that are from the state budget, just like cooperation with some selling portals or like activities of police and on the border controls. And I would like to thank you for your attention. You can see there is a link to more information in Polish that can be easily translated in Google. if you wish to find some other information. And maybe just I would like to add on the previous discussion that was already in this workshop, that we have, as Poland, received a derogation from the EU Commission on the farms for raccoon dogs because of this high interest. But some of the farms, raccoon dogs farms, have been issued have received these permits, but actually our government decided to close the farms until 2033. So anyway, these farms will be slowly closed. Thank you.
Many thanks, Eva, for the presentation. We have a question in the chat. Why hasn't been the American mink included in Polish list of species subject to eradication? And are there plans to change it?
So the American mink will be included in the EU list. It's already decided. It is, as I remember, in 2027, I think. So it is not anymore needed to include it in the Polish list, but of course we had problems to include it in our national list because it used to be very important branch for some of the farmers, similar to Denmark and some Eastern countries. But it was already decided in EU that it will be in the EU list.
And then you listened also to the questions which were discussed with previous speakers. It was again the question about the fish, the industrial fish, the silver carp in Ukraine, which was introduced for industrial purposes, and it is in EU list of invasive species. And what could be the approaches? So the in chat you can see also the Latin names of those fish.
Actually, I don't think it is on the EU list or on our list. Maybe it's just subject to the EU regulation on alien species in aquaculture. Because we, as our agency and also the EU regulation on invasive species doesn't deal with this species in aquaculture, alien species in aquaculture. There is a different EU regulation on this. And some of the alien species that are not invasive, they can be kept. There is a list also in our EU legislation, but it's a different ministry that deals with the fish. So if someone is interested, I can give later contact to the ministry that deals with this EU regulation of alien species in aquaculture.
Yes, that would be highly appreciated. Okay.
Sorry, may I have a comment here?
Yes, Sissy.
I'm not sure now, but as far as I remember, the EU regulation has in its Article 2 the exceptions were it doesn't apply. And under these exceptions, it's referring to, I think it was Annex 4 of this Regulation 708 related to agriculture. But I'm sorry, I don't know which species are in the Annex 4. So this has to be checked. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you for your addition. Also, there is a comment. It's interesting how it is in Poland with specifically this kind of fish, because it seems that in the European Union, this fish is not very much consumed as food. But is it in Poland an industrial or as this fish used as food, and is it also are there pods and some industrial breeding of this fish?
As I already told, we don't deal with the aquaculture. It's a different ministry. And I think it goes under this EU regulation on aquaculture.
Okay. So it's just question not for you. Okay. Thank you. Then another question, which, in your opinion, what is the best ways of informing and raising awareness of population citizens about invasive species? What are the best ways and most actionable ways? And because usually population are not paying attention to this information, and therefore also because of population, such invasive species are spreading.
Mm-hmm. From the actions that we have undertaken, I think a very wide attention was on the movies, but we also have a web page with very good information on each species, so it's very easy to find when someone Googles this species. So probably you will find our web page with this species. It is, I think, also similar, like it was. I think it was in Czech Republic that they have also this information sheet. So, like to have access to good information. And very helpful are the species for us that are also harmful for people, like the Heracleum. So if you ask someone in Poland if he knows what is invasive alien species, most of people will know about Heracleum, and they know then it's important to eradicate this. So actually such species help us to raise the awareness, because it's easy to understand then that yes, invasive alien species are not good for our not only nature but also for our health sometimes. And also the Rhinutria, nobody wants to have it in the garden. But we had some problems with, for example, koipu, because we have it under rapid eradication, and there were some places that people were feeding them in a city, and it was very difficult to take these animals from there, because the public, the citizens, they were against it, and there were also some NGOs for the animal welfare raising some issues, and it was also in the media. But we had the help of an NGO, or maybe also he's also a scientist and has a very good Facebook page on invasive alien species. And he also went there, talked to we also talked with the people, talked with the media. So we had also on our side NGO that raise awareness and give very good information to the public. So it's also good to have such NGOs.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Tomasz, for adding the information on the silver carp in annex. Then another question: which measures are taken against the farmers who allowed the introduction, whether it's conscious or unconscious, into nature, for example, of this American bison, or the deer, which are currently on the list of IAS?
Yes, so we had one escape last year of this American bison. Fortunately, it was possible to eliminate it. We had support of the Polish Association of Hunters, also in hunting for example, the Sika deer. Also, we think this management measures for invasive alien species are very good to cooperate with these hunters. It's also, I think, also good for them because in Poland we have more and more voices that maybe hunting is something not good, or it should be somehow maybe not prohibited, but maybe regulated more. And in this case, hunters are on our side, on the side of nature protection. So it's very good to cooperate with them. And in a case of one farmer who has released Sika deer, we don't know who, but who has released them. Or if there was a third person, or if it was him, we don't know. So there is a procedure from the police, and there is a procedure from the Regional Directorate for Environmental Protection, because he was keeping the Sika deer illegally, so it is subject to this administration fine. Sika deer is already since 2011 was on the national list.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, I do not see questions, and then I think we can thank you, Eva, for your presentation, and now we can go for a break for 10 minutes, and we'll then resume in Kiev time. It will be 12:05, and Central European 11:05.
Thank you.
Шановні пані і панове, повертаємося до нашого вебінару, і наступна доповідь у нас від професорки-докторки Барбари Токарської-Гузік з факультету природничих наук Інституту біології, біотехнології та охорони навколишнього середовища в Польщі.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Hello,
Can
you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I will try to share my presentation. I'm not sure if you...
Not yet.
If you see my presentation.
I see your screen. Yeah, now I see your presentation.
Yes, and one moment, please. And can you see the whole screen?
Yes, now it's in full screen. Yeah.
Oh, fine. So let's start. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to this interesting webinar. I introduce myself once more. My name is Barbara Tokarska-Guzik. I'm researcher and academic teacher at the University of Silesia in Katowice. Today, I would like to introduce you to the topic analysis of the invasiveness of alien species in Poland, the methodological approach used, and the result obtained. However, let me begin by referring to yesterday's meeting. I would like to say that yesterday we learned that many researchers in Ukraine are working on biological invasions, conducting research, publishing results using publicly available databases, and participating in national and international projects. Therefore, I had to say that you had appropriate knowledge and experiences in this area. I was very impressed with the information contained in your presentations. Congratulations. Coming back to my talk, I would like to share our experiences with invasive alien species in Poland. Let's go back in time a bit, as my talk will draw on materials presented at the General Directorate for Environmental Protection Projects Closing Conference. The project, entitled Development of Principles for the Control and Eradication of Invasive Alien Species, together with the implementation of pilot activities and public education, was implemented in 2016 and 2023. Then I presented the analysis of alien species invasiveness in Poland, including the identification of species that pose a significant threat to native flora and fauna. This was one of the key tasks carried out as a part of the project of the General Directorate for Environmental Protection. This task also included preparing proposals for strategic actions to combat invasive alien species. The task was carried out by a consortium of the University of Silesia and the Institute of Nature Conservation of the Polish Academy of Science in Krakow. It was worth nothing that, given the scope of the task, over 100 experts from over 30 national research centers were involved. We also secured support from foreign experts and numerous institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, in the previous talk presented by Eva Pisarczyk, the legal context regarding alien and invasive species in Poland was outlined. I would like to emphasize that some of the results obtained from the analysis I just presented were used in the implementation of regulation in Poland. The scope of the task we have been involved to included development of methods for assessing the invasiveness of plant of alien species, development of a list of priority invasive species, development of action plans for priority invasive species, invasive alien species, and preparation of recommendation for the strategy for combating invasive alien species in Poland. The subject of the analysis was a total of 118 alien species, including 60 plant species and 58 animal species. Oh, sorry. Animal species, which at that time had a various status. Some of them were already included in the EU invasive alien species list. At that time, we had knowledge gathered through research, published articles and monographs. These publications, which included list of alien species, also organized the terminology related to the introduction and spread of alien species in Poland. An additional source of information was then, and still is, the database called Alien Species in Poland, a database maintained by the Institute of Nature Conservation of the Polish Academy of Science in Krakow. The starting point for this analysis was the development of methodological assumptions, methodologies for the assessment of the degree of invasiveness of the species, degree of spread, occurrence of alien species, method of dealing with the analyzed species, species dynamic, the impact of the species on the natural environment, on economy, human health, ecosystem services, also the impact of predicted climate change on the invasiveness of the species, and criteria for selection of priority invasive alien species. I will only shortly discuss in more detail a few of them. The assessment of the species invasiveness was conducted using the procedure for assessing the risk of negative impacts of invasive and potentially invasive alien species in Poland. This procedure was developed based on the Belgian document called Harmonia and adopted to Polish conditions. Ludmila Zawielowa mentioned this assessment yesterday. The procedure consists of 11 modules, parts that analyze the invasion process of a specific species at individual stages: introduction stage, naturalization stage, and spread stage, and also its impact on specific domains: the natural environment, plant crops, animal breeding, humans, and other objects. In total, the survey consists of 31 questions. These questions are answered by experts based on their accumulated knowledge. In the Harmonia survey, The expert provides comments concisely justifying the rating, if any, along with an indication of the sources of information. Comments should specifically include an explanation of the expert decision in the event of missing, incomplete, questionable, or alternative data in the available analyzed sources. In addition, the descriptive rating made by expert, also a point value was calculated. The entire procedure was step by step involving independent assessment of species by two experts, reconciliation of the assessment, particularly on a point of disagreement, and verification of the assessment by the third expert. We can say it's a kind of a reviewer job. The final result of the assessment is descriptive and scored. In detail, each module consists of several questions, which, as I said, answered by an expert. Each answer is accompanied by appropriate commentary and assessment, and an assessment based on collected evidence. Here you can see 6 detailed questions regarding the impact of the analyzed species on the environment, and expert should answer all these questions based on his knowledge and experience. The extent to which the impact of alien species on native wildlife, the local economy, human health is identified is incomplete, or in many cases completely unexplored. By definition, this applies to alien species that have been recently introduced to a given area or are not yet present in the natural environment. However, even for many alien species that had been present in a given area for a long time, information on their impact may be scarce or often limited to scientific opinions, which more importantly are often divergent. Controversy arises even in cases documented by scientific studies whose results are contradictory. It's sometimes happened. For this reason, an integral part of assessing the invasiveness of the species is assessing to the degree of confidence in this assessment. In Harmonia procedure, the degree of certainty is defined as a function of 2 parameters: the amount of evidence and the level of agreement between them. The first parameter refers to the type, amount, quality, and internal consistency of the evidence, and is coded as low, medium, or high. The second parameter refers to the degree of agreement between different pieces of evidence and is coded as low, medium, or high. This diagram illustrates how these are linked to the 3 categories of certainty: low, medium, or high. Based on available information sources, including previous publication and databases, as well as the knowledge of individual expert and the obtained point indicators, the following invasiveness categories were proposed on the scale from least to most dangerous, from non-invasive alien species to a very invasive alien species. In addition, for species for which available data are so limited, or expert opinions are so uncertain that it does not allow for a reliable assessment of the degree of invasiveness, the following category has been proposed. It is a species of uncertain invasiveness. Given the constant improvement in knowledge about alien species, assessment for species, especially those of uncertain invasiveness, should be repeated regularly, which may allow for the more unambiguous classification. Currently, we have to remember the assessment should align with the environmental impact classification for alien taxa, the official global IUCN standard for objectively assigning the scale of negative environmental impact of alien species. This was also discussed yesterday. Here, you can see an example of a final assessment result in individual modules agreed for Japanese knotweed, which, based on the assessment carried out, was classified in Poland as very invasive alien species. And another example for Rudbeckia laciniata, this species was assessed as a moderately invasive alien species. Of the 118 plant and animal species assessed at that time, most species were classified based on collected evidence as moderately invasive. Only 19 species were assessed as very invasive, included 10 plant species marked here in green color, and 9 animal species marked in brown color. Sorry for Polish language here on this graph. The assessment identified also alien species that posed a threat to the largest number of native protected and endangered species. Here is a breakdown for the alien plant species. You can see the highest score was considered for Solidago, different Solidago taxa. An assessment of a species distribution degree was also developed. This method was based on the analysis of 2 basic parameters: the number of sites. This parameter was divided into 3 ranges, and the number of individuals within individual sites. It means it was a kind of a parameter connected with population size, also broken down into 3 ranges. When categorizing species based on the occurrence spread criterion, in addition to the combination method mentioned, 2 situations should be taken into account, and in which the species does not occur in the country at all, or occurs only in crops or breeding. So we then established 5 categories of species. Of course, it should be remembered that assessing the degree of species distribution also depends on the level of detail of the data, floristic, faunistic data, the amount and reliability of collected data, the correct taxonomic diagnosis, correct species identification, defining the site, mutual distance between sites, allowing for a more or less accurate representation of the species occurrence in space, assessing the size of the size of the site the species is present. Also the time intervals for data collection collection and its confirmation in subsequent period, historical and current data, confirmed and unconfirmed data, and also other parameters we should take into account when assessing the degree of spread of the species. In this assessment, more than half of the analyzed plant species are widely distributed in Poland. 7 are not found at that time in Poland, and 12 are cultivated. It should be also noted that the assessment of the species spread should be updated systematically. In the case of Lysohydron americanus is the example. A species included in the category group of species confirmed for Poland only in cultivation. It was at that time cultivated mainly in botanical gardens. This assessment should change because the first locality outside cultivation was confirmed for this species several years ago. In the case of animals, the situation is similar, except that more species have isolated population. Species distribution maps are available at the GeoService of the General Directorate for Environmental Protection, but you can see there just occurrences sent to the GeoService, as Eva Pisarczyk explained in her talk. It should be emphasized, however, that for some species, the maps we already prepare in different, based on different sources. The maps illustrate mainly the state of our knowledge and state of collected data, not actual occurrence. They require supplementation. And to remember that we also have other sources of data on species occurrence, for example, GBIF, Global Biodiversity Information Facility, which source I know that you use, that you know it and you use it. The method for selecting priority invasive alien species was more complex and took into account both previous assessment, the species invasiveness, its spread, but also other criteria, species dynamics, species impact on the natural environment, economy, human health, ecosystem services. Here I presented a flowchart. Apologize for the Polish language version. It is intended solely to illustrate the procedure, which consists of several stages, and the process of selecting priority species is multifaceted and conducted at several levels. Method for selecting priority invasive alien species also took into account a simplified cost-based balance of species control. It's much more complicated and need more time to explain this procedure in detail. For some priority species selected under the adopted procedure, then action plans have been developed. The plan structure follows the model used in the European Strategy on Invasive Alien Species. It identified 8 action areas that are key elements of a comprehensive system for reducing the negative impact of alien species. The scope of activities and expected effect depend largely on the species spread. For some species with limited range, eradication is possible. In other cases, eradication will be possible in just in selected areas, not on the whole areas. I should add here that the developed document have been submitted to the General Directorate for Environmental Protection. Some of them are publicly available now. An integral part of this task we've been involved to was the development of a recommendation for the strategy for combating invasive alien species in Poland, which would take into account the following assumption: defining a long-term strategy for assessing the problem of invasive alien species in Poland by 2030, determining strategic goals and key assumptions and directions of actions to reduce the damage caused by invasive alien species, and determining ways to deal with invasive alien species in Poland. This study should be considered a starting point, a recommendation for the final document, which should be developed and agreed upon with the participation of all key stakeholders. The prepared documents highlights, among other things, the need to create or amend normative acts, primarily with a view to the proper implementation of regulation of the European Parliament and of the Council, included also list of well-functioning and effective action that should be continued, list of action requiring improvement, performance, and increased effectiveness, recommendation resulting from the analysis of the most important experiences in Poland regarding the use of methods for combating invasive alien species, a proposed system for managing biological invasion in Poland with references to the action plan for combating invasive species in Poland up to 2030. I would like to point out that some of the recommendations have already been implemented, as Eva Pisarczyk mentioned earlier in her talks. She also mentioned that documents developed as part of the task were made available on the General Directorate for Environmental Protection website. You can find their list of invasive species, surveys assessing the degree of invasiveness, also in English, species information, fact sheets, data on occurrences of the species in Poland, and other materials which can be used in education process, for example. We can use this website and information on this website also for our students. In summary, I would like to highlight important recommendations for the future, which include increasing the level of knowledge necessary to conduct effective action to limit the negative effect of invasions, creating an invasive alien species monitoring system, closer cooperation and communication between interest groups, also develop cooperation at international level, integrating emerging technologies with invasive alien species management in practice, filling and clarifying identified knowledge gaps. For example, pathogen transmissions, knowledge is needed. Verifying the conducted assessment of the degree of invasiveness of alien species and conducted an assessment for a new alien species. That is what we need to do in Poland. And also further research, including an assessment of the impact of dominant species on environment, not only alien species, but also dominant or expansive native species. Thank you for your attention. I would like to invite you to contact me and continue collaborating. I must add that we have been collaborating with a team of botanists from Kiev for many years, something we greatly appreciate. Thank you very much for your attention again.
Thank you so much for the detailed information, Barbara, and leading us through the practical steps how to approach the topic of invasive and identifying and evaluation of invasive alien species. Actually, we have another presentation from you and then Q&A, but maybe the participants would like to ask questions now after this presentation, and afterwards we will jump into your next presentation and we'll have another question and answer. Якщо є питання, будь ласка, задавайте, пишіть в чаті. Зараз і потім буде ще одна презентація від пані Барбари. Well, I do not see any raised hands or any comments. There was only one comment about getting your presentations, your slides later, but we will share all of the presentations.
Yes.
Can I ask?
Okay.
I'm so sorry. Can I ask? So thank you very much for interesting presentation. And the question is, if the whole invasive alien species that you assessed and identified them as invasive was included in official list of invasive alien species of Poland?
No, of course not, because we assessed a group, selected group of alien species confirmed as present in Poland, and also species not yet present in Poland. It was a selection done by General Directorate for Environmental Protection. Now we have a huge list of alien species assessed, also some of them assessed as invasive alien species, but based just on research and assessing by data gathered by scientists during scientific research. They are not put on a list, but in some cases, some of these species classified in scientific papers as invasive are also a subject of intervention of management measures taken, mainly during some native protection action on protected areas, different protected areas. So in some cases also this is the whole list of species is again evaluated for the purpose of particular protected areas, and this decision is undertaken which plant species, sometimes also dominant native species could be removed because of to keep biodiversity of the protected area.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Then I think that we can jump into the next presentation of you, Barbara. It's on the LIFE project.
Yes, I try to share this presentation. Can you see this presentation?
Not
Or
yet.
not yet? Okay. Okay, so I try again. Okay. And now
I see your screen myself.
yes.
Yes.
And a full screen now. Can you see?
Yes.
Oh,
Perfect.
thank you. Perfect. Now I would like to introduce you to the objectives of the LIFE project, which address invasive alien plant species. The project title is already visible, but I will use a shorter acronym, Control EAS, for LIFE. The reason why I would like to briefly talk about the project is one of the project tasks, which is also included in the title of the presentation, Replication and Use of LIFE Project Results in Ukraine. But before I answer the question, to what extent will the results of the LIFE project might be replicated and used in Ukraine, I will provide some introductory information about the project itself. The project received 60% funding from the European Union. The remaining 40% is financed from national funds, including own funds, different institution funds. Project implementation began on January 2nd of this year. So it just started. The project is planned to last 7 years, so quite a time, and will end in 2033. The project is being implemented by a consortium of 6 partners. The lead beneficiary is Warmia-Mazuria voivodeships, it's northeastern part of Poland, represented by the Romińska Forest Landscape Park. The remaining beneficiaries are 2 scientific institutions, University of Silesia in Katowice, my institution, and Nature Research Center in Lithuania. So we have also Lithuanian partner. 2 national parks, Wigry and Wielkopolski National Park, and NGOs, men and nature associations. The strategic goal of the project is to reduce the negative impact of invasive alien plant species, so it's dedicated to the alien plant species, on native ecosystems in Poland and Lithuania, and to strengthen the protection of biodiversity of naturally valuable areas, including those covered by the Nature 2000 network. The project supports the relevant legal acts in force in Poland and Lithuania that stem from the EU regulation and aim to protect native biodiversity. At the same time, the project responds to the real needs of both member states regarding the reduction of invasive alien species occurrences in the environment, and the conservation of the most valuable species and natural habitats. The project aims, as I said, to improve the conservation status of selected Nature 2000 sites in Poland and Lithuania by reducing the pressure of invasive alien species and restoring native habitats. and this will be achieved through the following specific objectives: prevent invasive alien species introduction by identify priority pathways of species transfer to selected national and landscape parks, forest districts, and cities, and develop procedures to limit introduction, including recommendation on invasive alien species biomass handling. Develop and implemented an invasive alien species early detection and rapid control system to ensure quick reaction once new occurrences are found. Test eradication control methods for several priority species, including Ailanthus altissima, tree of heaven, Asclepias syriaca, Heracleum alien species, Heracleum sosnowski and Heracleum mantegasianum, Reinutria taxa, Impatiens also, Solidago, alien Solidago species in different conditions and habitats, and follow up with restoration using native species so that the methods can be replicated in further sites. Support also one of the specific objectives is to support nature conservation planning by developing invasive alien species management strategies for national parks, landscape parks, and state forests, and also cities on the selected examples. Also, among objectives, specific objectives, you can find carry out education and promotion, including expert panels and exchange of experiences to foster and good cooperation with neighboring countries on invasive alien species issue. And also another specific objective is to development and testing of the invasive alien species control action plan in Lithuania, so that the similar methodology is applicable in both countries. The project includes 9 thematic packages with many specific tasks. Besides project management and coordination, you can find here the development of guidelines for preventing the introduction of invasive plant species into environment, development and implementation of a system for early detection of invasive alien species, development, verification and supplementation of guidelines for remedial actions, an assessment of their effectiveness and impact on non-target species, native species, stimulating sustainable development in nature conservation, reducing the occurrence of invasive alien plant species, including Ailanthus altissima, Asclepias syriaca, and Celastrus, monitoring and evaluation of the ecological effect of the project, dissemination and communication, including networking with other live projects, and 9 last package, sustainability, replication and exploitation of project results. This last package is important today. Overall, the project combines, we can say, management, monitoring, stakeholder engagement, dissemination to ensure transferability of invasive alien species control methods to other sites and authorities in both Poland and Lithuania. As part of the package 9, one specific task was planned: replication and use of project results in Ukraine. This task includes organizing 6 training courses, workshops on the management of Ukrainian nature. Of the 6 planned workshops, 5 will take place in Ukraine and 1 in Poland, if possible. So we hope it will be possible. The workshop will focus on monitoring and combating invasive alien plant species, including social and legal condition, and the possibility of transferring Polish-Lithuanian experience in the area to Ukrainian ground. And I would like also to provide some examples of indicators, results of the project we planned that can be used in the Ukraine, because under different tasks of the project, we will develop of a strategy limiting the introduction of invasive species into areas of 3 national parks in Poland and 1 forest district. So it might be this strategy might be used and transferred also to other, we hope, to other areas, including areas in Ukraine. We plan to develop the strategies limiting the introduction of alien plant species into 3 urban areas in Poland, on the example of 3 cities, Wrocław, Olsztyn, and Suwałki, big, medium, and small city. Development and recommendation for the disposal of biomass of alien plant for selected species. Development of recommendation for preventing the introduction of alien plant species with contaminated soil. This is an important task because quite a lot alien plant species is introduced via contaminated soil. So we plan several experiments under the task of our project to prepare recommendation for preventing the introduction of alien plant species with these materials. Also, development of recommendation for the use of about 30 control methods against 16 invasive alien plant species, because we will be testing different control methods for about 16 invasive alien plant species during quite a long period of time, from 3 to 6 years. So we hope we will have good results after this testing. We also develop recommendation on how to assess the effect of remedial action on the invasive alien species and the impact on non-target species, and plan to development of an action plan to combat selected invasive alien species for both countries, Poland and Lithuania. Including Ailanthus altissima, Asclepias syriaca, and Celastrus. We heard from Czech colleagues that they have such or similar action plan for several species. The project website has already been launched. I invite you to visit it. Over time, there will be a lot of information here describing the action taken and the results achieved. Now you find just a general description of the project. Thank you for your attention on behalf of lead beneficiary and the entire project team. which I believe will ultimately consist of several dozen people. Now we began with quite a small group of people, but in a near future, the group will be larger. Thank you very much for your attention, and please keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara. What is the amount of this project? What is
amount of you mean cost?
Yes.
Costs, I can't remember now. It's I think it's about 5 million euros. By I remember. I remember cost for a University of Silesia is about 900,000 euros for whole period of a project, 7 years. It's quite a lot of money, but I have to check the figures.
Yeah, thank you. Чи є питання? Можете поставити питання в чаті. Чи попросити включити мікрофон?
Yes, I provide my email address. You can also contact me directly via emails. You are welcome.
Yes.
Can I ask the question?
Of course.
How many people will be involved in that project?
We not know the exact number of people yet, but for example, in one of the tasks connected with alien plant species inventory in 3 national parks, forest state, landscape park, and also in cities, it will be about 100 people. For each area, quite a big team of people. So altogether, at the end of the project, we will count people involved in the different tasks.
And can you say, like, approximately how many scientists in Poland work with invasive alien species issues?
I forgot the figure. I think it might be more or less under 100 scientists involved in invasive species, animal and plant species. I guess, but it is based on our previous experience, because we involve different experts, mainly scientists, to assess invasiveness of alien plant species. It was more than 100 people, but still, maybe this number is increasing now, because quite a lot of younger scientists is interesting in this issue and joining the scientific teams in different universities, and also scientific institute of Polish Academy of Sciences. So quite a large group.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We don't have other questions. So many thanks, Barbara, for your contribution and your interesting presentations.
Thank you very much for listening.
Oh, we have one question. Which financing are national parks receiving?
National parks. The national parks also. You mean two national parks involved in our project? They get financial support from the European Union, And also we have support from national funding, from national
Environmental fund.
yes, and national environmental fund. Yes. Thank you.
And a question actually about the financing of specifically scientific experts in the national parks.
Scientific experts in national parks. Yes, the scientific expert will be introduced to the project via partners, particular partners of the project, and they will be paid for their time, but we will be using project money for doing these jobs, or some scientists from, for example, from our institute will be also involved in their working time. I'm not sure if I answer your questions.
Well, thank you for your
We will
answer.
have some money for doing this research in different part of Poland.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Barbara. I think we will go then further according to our agenda, and I invite our expert on biodiversity, Sisi Samic, for the last presentation for today with information for specific invasive alien species. Yes. Selected. Okay. We see the screen, but still it's not the full screen.
Yes, I think CC is not able to share it on the full screen mode.
She wanted to try again.
Технічна підтримка. Включіть мікрофон CC. Я думаю, що вона його намагається включити, якщо ви з нами.
В неї є права, все добре.
Угу. Окей. Дякую.
No, I think it doesn't work.
Okay, do you want me to share?
I think, Olga, I have to ask you to share it.
Okay, no problem. Let me then share.
Sorry for this, but we
No
have an
problem.
alternative.
Yes. Now I do like this. Okay.
Yes.
Do you see it? Great.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, I have selected 4 flora and 4 fauna. Sorry, I have my English on, but I hear it in Ukraine. Hello?
Yes, choose original
Okay.
channel on the bottom of interpretation. Choose original channel.
I have English, yes, but I hear very loud the Ukrainian translation.
Just use original channel. Перекладачі, не перекладайте те, що я говорю, хай почує те, що я кажу.
Давайте ще раз спробуємо. Може, перекладачі просто помилились каналом.
Let's try again.
Yeah.
Sorry, I will try it like this now. Okay. I selected 4 species from flora and 4 species from the fauna. Thanks to Olesia, she provided me a list of invasive species which are on the EU list and are also occurring in Ukraine. I have followed carefully the presentation, the previous presentations, and for many of the species, you heard already much more detailed information than I will provide it here. So please see it only as a basic information and information in a nutshell about this species and potential management measures. So we can go on to the first one is Asclepias syriaca. This species is native to North America and was originally introduced as an ornamental plant by beekeepers. It was always used as a fiber and medical plant. The problem with this plant is that it spreads really, really fast through very long rhizomes below the soil surface. And it produces really dense population and therefore creating shade for native species. And in addition, it releases harmful compounds. So there is a negative impact on all the native plant species. Unfortunately, it also invaded into agricultural area, and all parts of the plant are poisonous. So this is also harmful for livestock. So what can be done? The control of spreading is actually very, very hard, but it should be focused specifically in protected areas or in high conservation value areas. Moving or grazing is not enough. So the most effective would be by chemical control using herbicides, but it's not really advisable because of the side effects, as this plant is really very attractive to bee species as a nectar source. Therefore, it was introduced by beekeepers. So most effective, besides chemicals, are mechanical measures. So to dig it up and pull it out, but the whole rootstock must be removed. And as you have seen in the previous slide, these roots are at least 10 centimeters below the soil. So, and if you cannot get out the whole roots, the plant can always spread again. So you have to really do this year by year. And you can raise awareness campaigns that immediately, if somebody sees the plant, that it's immediately eradicated. The next species, it's the water plant, Elodea nuttallii. It was native in temperate regions of North America, but now you can find it over all Europe. It came to Europe via ornamental aquatic plant trade, so for the use in aquariums. And it was often accidental released and then further spread by fishing equipment and boats. Usually it occurs in more eutrophic water bodies, so inside arms. It grows very rapid and it reducing the water quality because it's preventing coming in the light and oxygen. It has significant ecological and economic impacts on freshwater ecosystems. Next, what can be done? So the control for this species is really, really very difficult, and early detection is really crucial. It is really the most effective measures because it's also the cheapest one. So immediately when the first species are observed, you have to remove it, a manual removal. Biological control using herbivore fish like the grass carp or other bottom-feeding fish can give good results, but on the other hand, this can also increase the eutrophication. Here also chemical control would be possible, but it's not really an option due to the many environmental risk for non-targeted species and for the water quality. You can arrange well-coordinated public awareness campaigns, and I found a figure that it's likely that the cost of management of this species in future in Europe would be really extreme high, greater than 30 million euro per year. So actually, early detection is crucial. What can be done? Oh, we had this, we are with Heracleum.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. It is native to the Caucasus and in southern Russia and Georgia. It was originally propagated as an ornamental plant, and it's also very popular among beekeepers. So it dispersed by seeds, by wind, and spreading around in all surrounding areas like gardens, parks, roads. And it shows a significant negative impact on biodiversity, reducing the native plant diversity and also changing ecosystem function. And in addition, it contributes to the erosion of riverbanks. Another point is that it can cause phototoxic reaction for humans. So it's also a health risk. Next one. Again, here, as this is a really, really nice plant, it is easy to detect. So small population can be immediately eradicated. And therefore, here it's really good to involve the public through citizen science in early warning and eradication. Mowing and grassing are not that effective methods because if you only cut it on the surface, the plant does not die. So it's coming up next year again. The most effective measure would be the use of herbicides. Also, you have to take into account that the seeds remain viable in the soil for 7 years. So you have to take this into account in your management planning. Next one, Impatiens glandulifera. We know it's from the Himalayas, actually found in high altitudes, but now spreading also into lower areas. It regenerates from plant fragments, often found in disturbed habitats, especially along riverbanks, but also more and more invades the shaded area in the forest. Originally introduced as an ornamental plant, it's a highly competitive plant. It's really overgrowing all native vegetation. And during winter, plants are dying, are disturbing but riverbank stability and leading also to erosion. And this species is seen as one of the most aggressive alien species in Europe. What can be done? Early warning and eradication through citizen science. Eradication is really costly, it's time-consuming, and often impossible because they produce an amount of seeds per square meter, up to 32,000 seeds per square meter. So you probably cannot eradicate it everywhere. So you should really focus on protected areas and also Natura 2000 sites. If you are cutting it, this should be done before the flowering stage in June. Another measure would be to pull it out by hand and removing the whole plant, including the roots. But you have to repeat these measures several years. And there is I found another interesting study where they tried to eradicate through cattle grazing, and this led to a little decline in Germany. The next one, we come to the fauna, is the Egyptian goose. It is native to Africa, and it was introduced as ornamental specimen in zoological gardens and parks, but it escaped to the wild. And this species is really adapting easily to different environments, building hybrids with other goose and duck species, and is really competing the native fauna for food and nesting sites. It's overgrazing and eutrophication is spreading of diseases. What can be done? Awareness-raising campaigns, really telling people the negative impacts that you really get support from the public. But because many citizens say, oh, they look so nice, so why should we eradicate them? So really work with the citizens' networks. If animals are kept in captivity, they should be really housed securely. Definitely, you should ban the sales and phasing out the species from zoos. Reducing reproduction, for example, destroying the eggs, or you can do it with trapping and hunting. Gambusia, you probably know there are two very similar fish, the eastern mosquito and the western mosquito fish. And it prefers warmer temperature, but it can also adapt in cold conditions, including in winter. Originally native to the US and Mexico, and it is a very successful invader. And now it's really widespread in whole Europe. Originally, it was introduced as a biocontrol agent for mosquito control, so to prevent the spread of malaria, but there is limited evidence of success. And it aggressively and it's very aggressive, and it is a predatory and has impact on the native fish population, endangering the tooth carp species, but also many other fauna species. What can be done? Again, here, public awareness raising should reduce further unauthorized introduction. So really work together, inform fishermen and other stakeholders. Detection methods include electrofishing, citizen science, monitoring, or different nets and traps are efficient. If there are small enclosed water bodies, you can use a drain down or use native predators or lime treatment or pesticides. This might be effective eradication the population. But how the species is resistant to some pesticides, and there are legal constraints on their use within the EU. Another species, the marbled crayfish, we heard already something yesterday. The exact range where its origin is unknown, most probably in North America. It was introduced through the aquarium trade and later ornamental trade. You see the map here, and even in the research gate where I have the map from, they are not really updated because I can't see many dots in Ukraine. So this species has a frequent reproduction. The impacts are not well documented until now, but it is known that it has really negative ecological impacts because it's responsible for the decline of native crayfish. It also transmits a lethal fungal disease, and it really changes the structure of water habitats, and it can damage drainage and irrigation systems. What can be done? Once in the wild, it's very difficult to control. Same with other aquatic species, so definitely a ban on release. Also, public awareness activity to help to prevent the illegal introduction. So again, citizen science projects, rapid eradication of any newly emerging population, and the effective methods would be combining several methods, so including trapping, pond throwdown, use of native predators and biocides. The next species, raccoon. This is a carnivore, nocturnal carnivore. Actually, a native was in Central and North America, and it was introduced originally to Japan and Russia for fur farming, but species escaped or were released from farms into the wild, and it's spreading also into urban areas. The species has a high reproductive potential and a very negative impacts on native biodiversity, specifically in wetland habitats, on amphibians and birds and their nests. It also impacts agriculture activities and even is a threat to chicken farms. And one should know that it's carrying a range of diseases and parasites. Here again, a ban on the species to keep and transport and sale. Nowadays, it's often associated with pet trade. Then information about the raccoon distribution and ecology and impact on the native forest. It's very scarce, so more data would be needed. And there is really little experience in Europe with raccoon population control. The control can involve methods including trapping and shooting. Okay. I have a last example, and I have to say this is not on the EU list, but I will show it from an example in La Gomera on the Canarian island. Actually, this Arundodona is reported to be native in Southeast Asia, so the giant reed, and it ranks among the world's 100 most invasive weed species. It's posing really major threats to native biodiversity, to agriculture and natural ecosystem. And why I show you this example is La Gomera is a mountainous volcano island, a small island, and only in small valleys you can do agriculture. And the problem there is that this giant weed invades all these valleys where these small agricultural areas are. So really, that's a really problem for the people there. And what they did, the next one, they removed this weed in several valleys and put a black plastic, several square meter, in the hope that this plant, this is a positive eradication measure. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anybody who can tell me how many years it will be like this that the species is eradicated. Next one. Okay, so this was it from my side. Thank you very much for your attention. And at the end, I want to refer to one thing what Olesia said yesterday. So, Olesia, you said take measures now. Do not wait until we have adopted the laws. So really, I'm encouraging to work on invasive species and keep also in mind that there are funding opportunities, which we heard yesterday from Olga. And for these funding opportunities, you should focus on the species which are in the EU list, but also in your country. So thank you very much again, and I wish you all success in all your projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Sisi. Any questions from the participants? Okay, I think if we don't have questions, then we can wrap up. Yes,
Can I
please.
clarify? Can I clarify a little bit about the list of invasive alien species of EU that occur in Ukraine, and the two examples about Egyptian goose and raccoon? Колеги, я українською скажу для вас також. Я переглядала різноманітні матеріали, у тому числі було завдання проаналізувати список видів, які трапляються, які є в переліку ЄС і трапляються в Україні. І багато хто з вас думає, що у нас немає єгипетського гуся чи ракуна, господи, єнота, але вони є. Це перші знахідки, і дуже важливо було би зараз вжити заходи стосовно цього. Тобто єгипетський гусь, його популяція в містах, а в Європі досить велика, вони тут звичайні птахи, які гніздяться прямо посеред міста. Я не знаю, чому прямо посеред міста не вживаються ніякі заходи, але вид синантропозувався і мігрує потихеньку на схід. І перші знахідки на заході говорять про те, що цей вид буде і у нас скоро, тому важливо зразу його вилучати. І єнот на сході внаслідок війни були там зруйновані певні ферми і зоопарки, і є повідомлення про цих тварин в дикій природі вже. Ще не було зрозуміло, чи вони розмножуються чи ні, але є фахівці, яким цим питанням займаються, вони можуть прояснити. От, дуже дякую. Thank you very much, CC, for your practical examples and explanation and so on. Колеги, і якщо є питання, або хочеться щось обговорити, Олі, у нас є хвилин 15, правильно?
Є, абсолютно, є
Будь ласка.
питання на питання 15 хвилин.
Не соромтесь, давайте говоримо якісь речі, якісь побажання.
Так, пане Олександро, можливо, технічна підтримка може відкрити мікрофон?
Мікрофони відкриті.
Дякую.
Дякую.
Працює, да, мікрофон?
Так, так.
Дякую. В мене є таке питання провокаційне. Я не буду питати конкретні речі, бо то все більш-менш зрозуміло. Це не є нові питання в Україні. Багато дослідників, може не 100+, а багато дослідників і не за такі гроші, але все ж таки щось роблять. Да, бо, з цього вебінару дуже добре видно, де Європа, де ми. І от в зв'язку з цим виникає питання. Я не почув, може я неуважно слухав, я не почув жодного позитивного результату боротьби з інвазійними видами. Є різні варіанти, там деякі європейські країни чітко розділяють чужорідні інвазійні, не чужорідні інвазійні, ще щось. Між іншим, це дуже важливе питання для України. Україна, як дуже велика країна, яка фактично єдина, крім Франції, має зональність природно від степу полинового до лісової зони і так далі. Тут у нас свої є проблеми. Але питання таке. От ми щойно бачили карти і по гусю, і по єноту. Чи не є це, коли ми ставимо питання, що треба вилучати, треба знищувати, треба щось там робити, чи не є це, по великому рахунку, війна з вітряками? Чи не варто шукати якісь інші підходи? Не винищення. Якщо там один бізон, бізон це така трошки, трошки помітна тваринка така, це не єнот. То його легко. Нема проблеми. А то, що єнот в нас буде, це однозначно. Що б ми з ним не робили, як би його ми там... Це приклад хороший є шакала. Шакал реально поширюється, і як би його там не стріляли, він буде поширюватися, кліматичні зміни, зміни умов проживання, потім буде проблеми на Сході, пов'язані з повоєнним станом екосистем і так далі, і так далі. Тобто, чи не варто тут подумати про пошуки якихось інших підходів, прийняття цього вже як антропогенної даності? Бо якби не людина, єнот би ніколи з Північної Америки не попав би в Старий світ. Тобто, людина сама собі створює проблеми, а потім в тому всіх проблемах винні ті, кого вона привезла. Чи не варто тут шукати якісь інші шляхи? Хороший приклад.
Олександр Олександрович, думаю,
контексті
Сісі
того
хоче
питання.
вам уже... Олександр
Прошу
Олександрович,
переклад в
Сісі
контексті
вже
того
хоче
питання
відповісти.
колорадський жук. Його немає ні в одному списку. Він що, вже наш рідний?
Олександр
Ну,
Олександрович,
Підтоплювати.
Суть
Сісі
питання,
хоче
будь
вам
ласка.
відповісти.
Хто
Почекайте.
може
дайте
відповісти?
Нехай Сесі відповість. Сесі, can you
Yes,
raise the...
I thank you for this intervention. I actually agree because we always talk about the impacts. We know many of the negative impacts. So maybe it's also time to look, to make a study were the positive results, what really worked good and what didn't work. And for example, I know there is a study from IUCN how to use invasive alien species. So really to use them and not to eradicate them. So I would also go for these positive success stories. Maybe we find some. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Sissy.
Дякую, дякую. Я цілком погоджуюся з тим.
Добре. Є ще якісь коментарі, доповнення, питання?
Може, Барбарі дати слово.
Барбара?
Підняли руку.
Yeah, Barbara, please. Go ahead.
Can I comment on the last presentation also? Just a comment, because I must say that we have promising experience with eradication methods for Caucasian hogweed. We will test them in the live project I mentioned and prepare appropriate detailed recommendation. But Cici, you are right. Remedial measure must continue for several years. It depends on the population size and on how long is the species has persisted in a given location. But for some alien plant species, we have some methods we can use and have at the end have a kind of success. But for animal species, I do not have good experiences. It's really, really very difficult and also controversial tasks. So it is so difficult. I agree with you that we should also look for a positive effects and how to measure invasive alien species in different ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, for your comment. Пан Євген Романов.
Доброго дня усім. Можу питання задати?
Можете.
Питання невеличка така цікава інформація. Ну, питання, це не питання, проблема. Справа в тому, що внаслідок нинішніх умов, які ми маємо, в деяких регіонах багатьох сухого степу України йде знелісення, повний хід. І це визвано абсолютно об'єктивними чинниками. Нема газифікації, нема підвозу кам'яного вугілля, нічого немає. Люди топлять дровами. Потрібно якось відновлювати. І я не певен, що якщо, дай Боже, буде лісовідновлення, на що в тому числі я наполягаю, бо це у якості видів не будуть вибрані, хоча б не найбільш агресивні, а види, які забезпечать більш-менш швидке і найбільш дешеве лісовідновлення. Так що, розумієте, інвазивні види рослини – це не завжди происки врагу, скажімо так. Це, на жаль, результат дуже драматичних обставин. Це проблема, я не можу на неї дати відповідь і не питаю навіть і вас, тому що відповісти це за 5 хвилин практично неможливо. Ну, а і друге, такий давайте трошечки позитиву. Досить цікавий історичний факт. У Радянському Союзі намагалися акліматизувати скунса. Якого з цих видів, я не знаю. Але справа в тому, що скунс – це не тільки дуже смердюча тваринка, але й досить цінна на хуторова. Але там мав місце епізод. Вони, вибачте, так насмерділи, що додумались до цього, видалити в них анальні желези. Ну, їх коли випустили, то реакція була така. Лисиця його атакує, він становиться хвоста, піднімає, надується, якийсь дурник стоїть, і з'їла його. І так, це було в Воронезькій області. І так завдяки цьому ми не маємо ще одного дуже цікавого і дуже агресивного виду. Ось така історична історія. Історичний такий ракурс невеликий екскурс.
Цікаво.
Дякую за можливість приймати участь. А взагалі ця проблема і економічна, і соціальна, і дуже цікава, і непроста наукова. Тому що, наприклад, вже та епопея, яка закінчилася генотивидною подібною собакою, вона була не випадкова ще й тому, що колись це був ареал у минулій геологічної епохи цього виду. І коли його тут випустили, він попав тут, але потім він вимер. Коли він не випустили, то він попав там, де колись мешкав. Тому ця інтродукція була така сама успішна. Потрібна дуже глибока наукова проробка, я вважаю, з економічними розрахунками, з математичним моделюванням, тому що наші, не хочу на кого ображати, благі пожелання і навіть іноді просто важка фізична праця по виконанню часто має досить невеликий успіх. Успіху нам всім. І щоб не було у нас нових скунсів. Хай живуть там, де їм проведіння і де їх населило ту чи іншу територію. Дякую за увагу.
Дякую. Так, у нас ще є рука від Томченка Олександра. Будь ласка. Пане Олександр?
Технічна підтримка. Включіть мікрофон, Томченко Олександр.
Мікрофони усім увімкнені.
Зараз усім вже включили, так.
Добрий день, чутно мене?
Так, чуємо.
Все, бо канал змінився з англійської на українську. Добрий день, шановні колеги. Я якраз хотів сказати те ж саме питання, що про скунса, можливо, там були трошки дефекти перекладу, чи там, коли йшла розмова. У нас дійсно в Україні в чому проблема? В тому, що, якщо вже згадали Радянський Союз, 60-х років йшло масове зариблення інвазивними видами всіх водойм. Потім на підставі цього складалась економічна складова. Це про те, що я казав. Зариблення товстолобами, зариблення білими амурами. Я вже мовчу про пілінгаса, який в нас в Чорному Азовському морі, який був спеціально завезений для збільшення рибопродуктивності морів. І цим підходом, в принципі, дякую колегам з Польщі, що сказали чітко, що є розмежування, є рибна галузь, сільська, господарська і економічна, і є галузь охорони природи. На жаль, в принципі, чому у нас дискусія в Україні виникає? Тому що інколи екологічні погляди починають шкодити економічній складовій. Тому що фактично, якщо зараз ми на сьогодні почнемо знищувати і заборонимо вселяти товстолобів білих амурів у річки, у водосховищі Дніпра, а це є основа промислу і це є основа, як я вже казав, продовольчої безпеки, ми будемо мати великі проблеми. Тому що вчора хочу прокоментувати, коли пані Олеся сказала, що коли на коментар Віктора Дем'яненка, що, наприклад, на Дністровському водосховищі 80% вилову карася сріблястого, якийсь інвазивний. І пані Олеся сказала, давайте ми його всього виловимо, а там може щось вирости. Тут питання, поки може щось вирости аборигенне, це призведе до, тим більше в умовах зараз війни, економічної нестабільності, призведе до втрати робочих місць раз, суспільної агресії населення два, і саме головне, як я вже казав, продовольча безпека. Тому що, ну так, в європейських країнах не завжди використовують товстолоба. В нас, в принципі, товстолоб той же самий, це харчова продукція, білий амур, консерви готують для військових, для цієї риби. І фактично це є також одна з основ обороноздатності країни. Якщо ми зараз все знищимо, то ми залишимося із карасями золотими, яких нема взагалі, чи щуками, яку в таких обсягах не можна виловити для того, щоб прокормити населення. Це перше. По-друге, в Україні ще був такий дуже цікавий випадок. У нас до 2022 року в Червоній книзі охоронявся інвазивний чужорідний вид горіх водяний, який потрапив в водойми випадково і потрапив в Червону книгу. З допомогою наукових і інших екологічних організацій довкілля на той час. Тому, в принципі, пропоную просто для вирішення таких питань, які сьогодні-вчора піднімалися, підходити не однобоко з точки зору охорони природи. Так, я підтримую охорону природи, питань немає. Але і з тим, що деякі види дійсно стали вже складовою нашого життя, і ці види є невід'ємною складовою економіки країни. Дякую.
Дякую, пане Олександре. Так, я ще бачу в чаті було питання, що робити з іншими комахами, наприклад, розповсюдженням ясеневої смарагдової златки. Хтось хоче прокоментувати. І ще питання, чи є приклади оголошення інвазійними видами таких домашніх тварин, як коти чи собаки? Так.
Я не бачу, щоб хтось з закордонних колег підняв руки стосовно котів і собак. А чи є коти і собаки чужорідними видами для Європи? І це одомашні тварини, які, ну, якщо їх виділяти в окремий вид, вже й не мають аналогу в такій природі. Або якщо вважати, що є аналог, то це вовк і там лісовий кіт чи очеретяний кіт. Тобто це не чужорідні види для нас взагалі. Це інше питання, і воно вирішується іншим шляхом. Якби домашніх тварин таких тримають вдома, а не випускають і не викидають на вулицю. У багатьох країнах Європи ця проблема вирішена. Це та й таке.
Добре, будемо тоді закривати, напевне, вебінар. Дуже дякую за участь, дякую, що всі приєдналися, і дякую за дискусію, за питання. Так, є думка про інвазійність.
Організаційне питання стосовно поширення презентацій, і було б дуже добре поширити запис. Багато хто сьогодні приєднався і питає, чи буде запис, який би можна було послухати.
Так, ви отримаєте, всі учасники отримують імейл зараз, в якому буде і посилання на папку, де можна завантажити презентації, і посилання на веб-сайт. Там запис буде через декілька днів, на протязі тижня має з'явитися. І також ми попросимо заповнити зворотній зв'язок, форму українською мовою ми зробили. Пишіть свої коментарі, побажання, будь ласка, будемо дуже вдячні. Там одна сторінка, не знаю, 7 чи скільки там питань, більше 5 хвилин не займе у вас. А нам допоможе далі готувати щось таке, що буде більш корисним і враховувати також побажання. Дуже дякую.
Да, дуже дякую вам, дуже дякую Сісі, Барбара, Томаш, іншим доповідачам. Дуже дякую всім доповідачам. Дуже змістовні, цікаві, різноманітні доповіді, різноманітні підходи. Я помітила, що в Австрії фактично аналог Держпродспоживслужби займається інвазійними чужорідними видами. В Чехії саме Агентство з охорони природи, якого у нас в принципі немає. В Польщі це також охорона природи, багато роблять саме місцева влада, що дуже важливо, дуже цікавий підхід. Так що нам є чому повчитись, і, можливо, в майбутньому законі ми врахуємо ці різноманітні підходи і буде така більш-менш дієва система. Наразі справді немає можливості створити дієву систему, поки йде війна, не буде ніяких особливих заходів, тому що коштів у держави на це немає. Але ви побачили можливості стосовно проведення наукових досліджень, Horizon, Life, відкриті для України. Об'єднуйтесь з колегами, об'єднуйтесь з закордонними колегами, пишіть проекти, це справді дуже-дуже потрібно зараз для України. А на майбутнє, як війна закінчиться, тоді вже візьмемось за інвазійні види. Наразі у нас один головний інвазійний вид, який потрібно побороти, а тоді всі інші види можна буде якось думати, як їх використовувати, бороти чи не бороти. Це вже питання майбутнього. Дуже дякую всім за участь. Я сподіваюся, на майбутнє також такі самі цікаві. Дякую, Оля, вам. І перекладачам.
Дякую вам, Лесю, і дякую дуже технічній підтримки і перекладачам. Всім благ і тихого дня.
Найкраще. Дякую вам.